as a follow-up run to the last one, it's survival. And more specifically, it is heavy weapons and it is shields. Because I think that melee, not really using a shield a whole lot, and all the items that I took were mostly for the damage reduction. So this one I wanted to use a little bit more actual shield action and check out what exactly I could do with some heavy weapons. Here's the thing with heavy. Oh, and I did initially start this run as a casual sort of warm-up run and then realized, hey, wait a second. Oh, by the way, cool collision there, Motion Twin. And then realized, wait, I have a really good starting setup here with the shovel and the punishment. Because punishment is one of the items that I wanted to get immediately. Because as far as shields go, punishment I don't think can get much better. Perhaps a blood shield could be good too, because it does a big area of effect, and that is very helpful when you're doing 3-cell mode, because you get a lot of enemies around here, and punishment's DPS, as you could say, does a lot for you in that time. Oh, and I don't know if I mentioned, but this is post-commentary because, I tried so hard, but I could not do live commentary during one of these. It was just too much. Ah, well. Shouldn't be too bad. But yes, it's going to be building survival as much as possible. So here's the thing with heavy weapons. Oh, yes, and of course. What do you want to buff this out with? Well, something like Tonic, for example, pretty good, because obviously it... Oh, wait, no, it stopped scaling with survival right now. What a bug. Corrupted Power is also pretty nice, but I'm taking so much damage already, even at the very start here, that maybe that wasn't the best choice. Oh, well. I'm fairly certain that the Tonic should be, in reality, scaling with survival, even though it doesn't say that right now, but don't worry about it. By the way, they really need to up the amount of healing that that Tonic does, because it has taken a huge hit since the, I want to say, Foundry update? I'm pretty sure it was still doing pretty good even back in the Brutal update. I have no idea. Oh, and the route today is going to be the classic Promenade to Ossuary to, was it Sanctuary? And then I think I went Sepulchre. I usually go with food, switch it up a little bit, so, So the shovel. Shovel, I think, is a great weapon because I love the idea of hitting enemies with a shovel. Getting that right off the bat was, well, it's not great for this run. Because here's the thing with heavy weapons. Heavy weapons are great at providing you a lot of stun. Like, you can do a lot of damage in a short amount of time. And back to brutality, scaling for the Tonic. You can do a lot of damage in a short amount of time, which will knock enemies out of attacks, etc., etc. That does not help as much in 3-cell mode, because as you saw there are so many enemies around here. Again, cool collision on the shovel there. But as you can see on 3-cell mode, what happens is that there are so many enemies around you that even though you might be able to keep one enemy stun locked, oh boy, that was close. Even though you might be able to keep one enemy stun locked, you cannot keep all enemies stun locked. And when you're attacking single, oh, come on, Shovel should be better than this at hitting projectiles. By the way, that was one of the reasons why I wanted to go to the Promenade. I had the Shovel, I could easily take out the Bombardier's grenades, and it's clearly not that's clearly not developing as much as a plan as much as I wanted it to. Also, great job running directly up into the spikes, me. So anyway, I'd love the idea of hitting enemies with a shovel too. I mean, come on. I've been watching a bunch of videos on Darkwood lately, and that's a pretty early game weapon that I've seen a lot of people using. So I kind of had the idea, hey, this would be a really fun... Slow weapons. This would be a really fun one to do this run with, but it's not the best. No, when it comes to heavy weapons, there is really only one winner here when it comes to 3-cell mode. And that is, as you could probably guess, the War Spear. So many enemies means you're going to be critting constantly. You can be taking enemies out Maybe not in one hit exactly, but in one combo, certainly. I think I said in the last video that it's a good early game weapon. I only meant that in terms of if you're building brutality. If you're building survival, it is a good all game weapon. Take that War Spear and never let it out of your grubby undead hands, because it is excellent at taking care of the tons and tons of enemies you're going to be facing on this level of difficulty. And no surprise, that's what I eventually go with. Frontline shield. I don't... Oh, by the way, yeah, since Tonic's not doing as much work for me as I wanted to, that's fine. I can... Ice Grenade's great too, because you do big, heavy hits with, well, big, heavy weapons. Wow, amazing. Big, heavy hits with big, heavy weapons, so that the modifier that gives you plus damage on frozen enemies is great. Because you're not doing a ton of hits at once. So a single big hit... A single hit will knock enemies out of being frozen, but a single big hit means that you're getting as much damage as you possibly can out of that before it happens. And that was another one of the synergies that I... Oh, wow. That was another one of the synergies that I wanted to go with at the start when I started up this run, or during the many attempts that it took to do this run. Was that I wanted to try to get an Ice Grenade, because obviously I was going to be using heavy weapon and a shield, and I didn't want to stray from that. And grab an Ice Grenade and get something that gives me the plus 175% on frozen. Maybe not the best way to use that there, but it was the best way to take out those bats. So, also another thing with the Promenade is that there's a lot of prime locations for just stomping on... Oh god, so many enemies. A lot of prime locations for stomping on bats, so... Even though there's a ton of them here, yeah. There was a certain point where I kept coming up to the skill shops and I was like, wait, there was something that I was supposed to get. Something that would have been really good in this run. And yes, the other thing... is talking about how the shovel, maybe not the best at the moment. Why, look at this. Not doing as much projectile deflecting as I wanted it to, so that's fine. I can switch it up. I do want to give the shovel a little bit more credit, so maybe in the future I'll do another... Take that, Rose. Maybe in the future I'll do another one of the... Like, the shovel was, I think, the second, at least commentated challenge run that I did. That could use a little bit of an update. Maybe I'll do that as the next, like, challenge run that I do. Because I feel like I didn't show that to the extent that I didn't feel like I showed the shovel off there to the extent I possibly could in 3-cell mode. But Broadsword's fun. I like the Broadsword. It has a really nice big upper swing, a lot of damage. Good stun, but like I said, with the amount of enemies here, stun, maybe not the best. Oh, got it. Yeah, the skill shop. I was thinking, oh yes, there was one other thing that I wanted to get, but I kept forgetting what it was. It's Bear Trap. Bear Trap, because you can freeze enemies in place and force them to face away from you so that you can just wail on their back over and over. And I forgot about that for the entire run using something like Corrupted Power, where I'm taking way too much damage as it is. Yeah, let's make me take a little bit more damage at the cost of not getting much health, at not getting much extra damage out of that at all. Not getting much health back, that would be if I took Vampirism. Which, honestly, probably wouldn't have been too bad of an option. It works best when you have a quick weapon that you can kill a bunch of enemies with at once, but you can still get some good use out of it even with a heavier weapon like a broadsword. Especially when you're building survival and have it scaling very well with it. So yeah, Bear Trap should have made an appearance in this run, but unfortunately it will be Sir not appearing in this video. I took the mutation there that gives you extra damage when you parry, because I was thinking that the extra I couldn't remember exactly how it worked, but I thought that you could get extra. Also a good reason to take Ice Grenade just for that alone. Might have also had a easier time with these runs if I'd played better. Anyway, took the extra damage when you parry because I was thinking that the explosion after using the punishment once would get the extra damage off of that, and I don't think that's the case. One of the many failed runs I did have... I don't remember exactly what I did at that time, but there was one run where I was just destroying everything with a decently powered up punishment shield. It was amazing. I could do a single parry. Oh yeah, no, that would have been a great item. I could do a single parry with the shield and just take out, what, every single enemy around me? Like, nothing would survive, even slashers. That shovel, upgraded shovel there, but I just took the broadsword and I just used the shovel, so maybe not the best right now. Besides, if I'm going to be doing a survival run, I might as well show off as many weapons as I can for as long as I can. Because we all know where this is going by the end of this. So yeah, I didn't really use punishment as much as I wanted to in this run, and... still a great item, but yeah, I should have used it more. Tracker was really pushing me around there for a little bit. So obviously one of the biggest problems with using heavy weapons is that you have a very, very hard time, even more... What was that item I was trying to get? Was it 3 phasers? The game might be trying to tell me something. I really do need to use phaser more. It is an item that I know a lot of people have a lot of affection for, that for whatever reason I just... it's something to do with it being... still not getting that good of damage off of it. Also, ow. Nearly killing myself by attacking that Thorny. Yeah, it's an item that I know a lot of people have affection for, but I just... I don't like the way that it moves you around a little bit... a little weirdly, so... I got no excuse. I really should be using it more often. It does even give you really nice damage reduction. Would have worked pretty well with the melee run I was doing last time. You'd get something like an assassin's dagger with it. It's amazing. Really, the game's even telling me you should use it by giving me 3 in that single shop. Not giving me the bear trap that I wanted, because that's not even remotely close to the right thing to take there. If I wanted to shoot, that's not even remotely close to the right category. Yeah, hit him off? Not quite. Well, anyway, heavy weapons have trouble hitting fast enemies like flying enemies, so going to a place like the ossuary where you don't have to worry about enemies, a lot of, exploding bats or regular bats or whatever, is, I guess, the most ideal route that you could get. Certainly better than going to the old sewers or, well, the promenade, you'd think, but Hey, upgrade to the punishment shield. Maybe now I can start one-shotting enormous amounts of enemies around me. Oh yes, and also one of the big reasons why I wanted to take that. Nope, not quite. One of the reasons why I wanted to take this broadsword was because it did happen to give me 2... Oh god, no, not with the... I'm getting hit so much this run, no way. But yeah, one of the reasons why I didn't want to take that broadsword is because it does have 2 survival on it, which is pretty nice. I mean, there's no way that I would be getting a heavy weapon with that good of stat distribution. Yeah, well, it's unlikely. Well, anyway. Well, anyway, yeah, Shocker's being as terrible as usual. Would have guessed. Also, something that annoys me to no end with the spinners is that they will fall off of edges. I have gotten killed from thinking, oh, well, they're not going to just spin right off of there and fall onto me as I have this curse. That has happened several times. So, you know, great stuff. And I don't think they're supposed to go off of edges either. That was a good parry. I don't think they're supposed to go off of edges either. I think that just happens due to the very fast speed they're moving. Failed that parry pretty spectacularly. Punishment's doing a lot better, but I think that taking something like a shove shield, KO shield would have been pretty good. Counter shield, certainly, because I wasn't going to take that frontline shield, even though it might have done me some good. I don't know. All of those would have been a better option than punishment, which is not pulling its weight as much as the broadsword, which is definitely pulling its weight because it's enormous and heavy. Really not too much left to do here in the ossuary, aside from grab as many stats as I can and then go say hi to everybody's favorite boss, the incomplete one. So what of the other two? Now, I've already spoiled that, yeah, I do eventually get a War Spear, and the War Spear is great. Love it. But what of the other two major survival-based weapons? The Valmont's Whip and the... God, I hope I'm not forgetting any of them. The Valmont's Whip and the Nutcracker. Well, Nutcracker is still pretty decent. I mean, you can stun lock an enemy, but it has the same problem as the shovel. Yeah, I was just saying, hey, maybe get a new shield that's not a punishment. But that's a good punishment. That's a really good modifier. Affix. They're called affix. They're called affixes, which I should remember. But it has the same issue that the shovel did, where there's too many enemies around. You think you're going to be hit. You can easily stun lock one enemy, but you can't stun lock 5 enemies that are all shooting projectiles at you from every place on screen while things are invisible and they're being defended by defenders and all that sort of stuff. I mean, really, the Nutcracker is great for getting a lot of initial damage on an enemy, because taking out 75% of a boss by keeping it stun locked is fantastic. But as an actual damage dealer, not as good. And here's where I decided, yeah, maybe not keep all of the... Maybe not that 11 extra health when I kill an enemy is all that worth it. Heavy weapons do give you a lot of extra rally, though, so having that extra rally time will help in this upcoming battle. And then I can switch that out for something that gives me a little bit of extra healing afterwards. Extra 300% damage is pretty good. I think that this fight does show that heavy weapons are very good at killing bosses. Although getting that parry in is quite difficult when I have the slowdown from the ice grenade active. But aside from that, you can see I'm taking down the incomplete one real quick. That actually leads me in nicely to the other heavy weapon that I didn't take this run, the Valmont's Whip. Valmont's Whip does terrible damage unless you hit that critical, and then it does probably the most damage in the game. If there is... Wow, I'm getting hit way too much here. If there is one item that you want to use to one-shot bosses, it's a properly powered up Valmont's Whip. I think that leads a lot into what I was saying about survival weapons being very good at taking down bosses, not so good at taking down normal enemies. I am relatively low on money, so grabbing all the cash there was worth it. Grabbing the cells, not at all, because what am I going to do with them? I have everything upgraded. Yeah, and here is where I take pretty much the same mutations, but get that extra little heal in there. Because if I'm going to be... Oh, right, I didn't go to the Sanctuary. I went to the Fog Fjord, which was a terrible idea. This is a very bad place for a heavy weapon. You get so many cannonballs in the face all the time. What am I even... I think I just decided, well, I've done too much Sanctuary lately. Woof. But anyway, the extra damage off of parrying is great because I'm always going to have a shield. So, yeah. One of the things I've mentioned before, but one of the things Motion Twin did say was that they wanted to make it so that focusing on a single stat does make you something of a glass cannon, and maybe not the best idea for a survival run, but it's the one stat that I'm getting decent damage out of, so might as well try. 2 cannonballs reflected back at him. It still wasn't a kill. Yeah, curse chests are just not worth it here. Alienation would have been a great healing. Alienation is a great healing, method. But as you could see what happened there with all of those bats, I would have gotten killed. Yeah, probably right after taking that curse if I wasn't being super ultra careful. And yes, all those bats exploding would have taken away the curse, but I would say there was an equal, if not more, chance that doing anything wrong there. Like if I was doing the live commentary, I probably would not have survived that. That's why I decided to do post on this one. God, there's so many bats. Yeah, this is projectile enemy spam heaven, so that's why maybe not the best for a survival run. Here's where I continue to forget that I wanted to try to grab a bear trap, and instead got Toxic Cloud. Because, hey, Toxic Cloud will take down a lot of bats. They have very low health, so even going inside the Toxic Cloud will take them out. And it's a good way to do a little bit of passive damage, even when I'm not around. Also gives you damage reduction, so always quality. Boy, was that close to being killed there. Oh, so many times where I got... Oh, also biters attack faster than I can swing, so that's great too. There's a concept in Dark Souls called... well, not in Dark Souls, but there's a concept that's used in Dark Souls, super armor, where you're able to keep attacking even though you're being hit. And I don't know if it's in this game, but it should be for... But if it's not, and I'm not entirely sure, it should be for weapons like the broadsword, much like it is in... Is it worth going for this pirate captain? Absolutely not. Try it anyway. Yeah, no surprise that the dude that's like 5 times the size of me can handle his extremely heavy cannon a bit better than I can handle this sword. That said, that 100% on Burning Target did a lot of work there for taking down that elite. Probably couldn't have done it without that, unless I really just hunkered down, used all of my flask charges, and held that punishment shield up the entire time. Yeah, I was saying before that I didn't really want to take that. Didn't want to take that frontline shield, but maybe just holding up a shield might have been better than... And there's the War Spear. You know, another really good melee weapon would have been that Spiteful Sword if I was building Brutality. Because that helps you regain health with the rally mechanic, like a lot. Because of the amount of damage you do after getting hit. So, Might have to look at that one along with doing a shovel in the future. Oh. You can already see I'm taking out enemies so much faster because I'm always hit enemy spam heaven. So I'm always able to hit multiple enemies at once. Wow. That sentence just didn't want to come out. Still would have a hard time hitting enemies, hitting the biters before they start to hit me. And additionally, I really should be using that. Oh, it's so much better already. And additionally, I really should be using that ice grenade a lot more, because it is an important part of you know, making sure that I can hit enemies before they hit me, keeping them frozen in place like that. And tactics, and then yeah, you have good CC with the ice grenade. You have good area denial, somewhat, with the toxic cloud. It's not a bad build. It's not the most ideal one, but I think it's gotten a lot better with the addition of the war spear into it. As always, one of the nice things about coming to the Sepulchre is that you get those 2 free stats, because 24 minutes is a long time to get in here. Well, it's a long time for me. Maybe not for somebody that has played under 100 hours of this game or whatever. One of the things that makes the Sepulchre maybe not the best place to use the War Spear is the addition of shield bearers on higher... Well, I think if you have any boss cells active. Because those shield bearers will destroy that synergy of... Well, the critical hits that... Oh, it's at just the perfect awkward angle that I couldn't hit it easily. But yeah, it destroys the critical... it destroys the critical art of the War Spear, because you're, well, hitting shield bearers instead of hitting a bunch of enemies at a single time. It's a pretty clever way, because there aren't more difficult enemies that you can put into the Sepulchre, but it does destroy ranged attacks, and it does really hamper your ability to use enemies, or to use items like the War Spear effectively. Do I remember that I wanted to get a bear trap this time? Nope. And yeah, switching it out for the tonic, because that shield is probably... Well, if I didn't use it immediately, it would have been a very effective anti-darkness. It would have been a very effective anti-darkness, you know, emergency usability thing. But I use it immediately, so I don't know what I was thinking. Elites, as always, not too difficult with the War Spear, because summoning enemies just makes me more powerful. Take that, Spinner. Not too much worse than the one I already had, so sure. Well, not too much different. It wasn't worse at all. Still surprises me that shocker hits are not considered ranged attacks. They really should be. Really make the 75% reduction that you get off of necklaces far more worth it. Especially because with the extra amount of enemies you get in 3-cell difficulty, you're going to be running into them a lot more often down here. In the darkest, dankest depths of the island. You know, I said in the last video, and I still hold to it, that when you get a complete build, when you got everything that you want to get. Oh, that's a really good boon. It's not too difficult to beat bosses. Like, getting to the end of the game, not too bad, because this is a mostly, if not entirely, complete run, I'd say. And you can already see that it's becoming a lot easier to kill a whole ton of enemies at a single time here with this. I don't necessarily need to have every single flask charge. Even having just one flask charge, which is guaranteed after you go through either the Sepulchre or the Clock Tower, is enough when you got emergency triage to put up a nice shield and then just burst down the assassin like it's nothing. Oh, and I was just saying, it's perfect. I mean, aside from the Inquisitors, which are being very obnoxious, I'll fight as many elites as it takes because, I mean, yeah, it's pretty much a guaranteed, always active critical there. Counter shield, way better than the punishment I've been working with. It's also going to be much better for fighting the assassin because you still get a ton of damage off of reflecting her shurikens back at her. Thanks, dive attack. Can't use it if you don't have enough room. Well, I said that I only needed a singular charge on the flask, and it's fine. It's fine. Why did I use... I guess it comes back to the question of why did I use the syringe the second that I got it? That was entirely unnecessary. Did I think that I was going to roll for another item? I don't even remember. What's done is done. Yeah, that counter shield parry is super nice. It just comes at the cost of not being able to... Oh, right, don't have to. It comes at the cost of not being able to use the... to hold it up all the time, which I am more than fine with, so... I've always liked the parry mechanic in this game. Didn't use it enough until the Brutal update, and now it's... Well, I mean, it's not too much worse or anything, but it's not at the same glory that it was during the heyday of a month ago, give or take. And I suppose that goes with survival entirely. Survival still is more than enough to be able to do any normal run, but at higher difficulties, it's not as good. Because everything is, well, a lot harder. That was surprising. Oof. That I didn't get hit there. It does make me wonder if there should be something to... I guess the mutations. The mutations make it so that you have a bit more survivability off of survival, but other than that, it's just another avenue for damage from specific types of weapons right now. And I guess that's fine, but maybe it should be called something else that's not survival at this point. Because it makes it seem like you should be... Hey, double kill. Monster kill, wrecker, headhunter. Alright, get out of here and go fight the assassin already. And the critical hit is the real thing that you get out of using the war spear. But the quote that it has, that it purports that, oh, you want to use it for range at the cost of speed, is still pretty effective when fighting the assassin, because she may have a big sword, but it doesn't have too much range on it. So that you can start out just barely outside of her melee range and then get into it by doing the full spear combo. Get extra damage from the parry. It's not too much. But the other thing is that the ice grenade will help out a lot, and although she won't stay frozen forever, when you get into the later phases, you can I could easily just start spamming that and getting a ton of damage off it because of the affix that's on it. Yeah, you can see right outside of the range and then get into it doing that. Get into it by using the spear. Do damage the entire time. And there's where I was talking about using the tonic to get a little extra damage without having to worry about getting slashed down by the sword over and over. And not quite. Close. But taking that emergency triage and then tanking your way through, still pretty effective. So, would I suggest doing a survival run for 3-cell difficulty? No. Individual parts of it weren't terrible, but focusing entirely on survival,